Your worth today is not measured by productivity. It is anchored in who God says you are. Before the emails, before the expectations, before the silent comparisons begin, remember that. Because pressure has a way of lying. It tells you that if you don't perform, you don't matter. If you slow down, you fall behind. If you struggle, you are failing. But pressure is not your identity. There is a difference between pressure and purpose. Pressure tries to squeeze you into fear. Purpose calls you into growth. Pressure says, prove yourself. God says, you are mine. Isaiah 43:1 says, fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. Notice the order. Before instruction, before assignment, before responsibility, there is identity. You belong to God. That truth steadies everything. Some of you wake up already bracing yourselves. You haven't even started the day yet your shoulders are tight. Your thoughts are racing. You are trying to hold everything together. Family needs, financial goals, personal growth, spiritual expectations. It feels like if you relax for a second, everything will collapse. But you were never meant to carry life alone. Pressure tries to convince you that strength means never feeling overwhelmed. But real strength is trusting God when you do feel overwhelmed. It is saying, this is heavy, but I am not abandoned. 2 Corinthians 4:8-9 reminds us, we are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. That is not denial. That is anchored confidence. Here is what grounds you. You are not fragile glass waiting to shatter. You are a child of God being refined. Pressure does not define you. It develops endurance. And even in development, God does not stand at a distance. Psalm 66:10 speaks of refinement like silver, but silver is never left alone in the fire. It is watched carefully. This morning, remove the pressure to be everything at once. Remove the weight of unrealistic standards. Remove the comparison. Your life is not a competition. It is a calling. Strength is not shouting louder. It is breathing deeper. It is remembering that God's grace meets you in the middle of demand. It is knowing that even if today stretches you, it will not snap you, because the one who holds you is stronger than what presses against you. You are not behind. You are not inadequate. You are not one mistake away from collapse. Your foundation is not performance, it is belonging. So when pressure tries to break you today, return to this truth. Your identity is secure. Your Father sees you. His strength is made perfect in weakness. And you do not have to prove what God has already declared. That is where peace begins. Please pray along with me. Lord, I come to you this morning without urgency in my voice, because I am learning that urgency is often what pressure sounds like inside of me. I have been carrying a quiet weight lately, not the kind that collapses everything instantly, but the kind that stretches slowly across the days. It sits behind responsibilities, expectations, unfinished tasks, conversations I am rehearsing in my mind, and the subtle awareness that more is being asked of me than I feel fully prepared to give. I have noticed how pressure does not always shout. Sometimes it simply lingers, steady and persistent, until I feel thinner inside than I want to admit. I do not want to pray from panic. I do not want to ask you for strength in a way that sounds dramatic. I just want to tell you honestly that sometimes I feel like I am being pressed from all sides. Not crushed, but pressed. And I know your word says we can be pressed but not destroyed, struck down but not abandoned. I believe that. I hold on to that. But belief does not cancel the sensation of pressure. It just gives me somewhere to place it. This morning, I am not asking you to remove every responsibility. I am not asking you to make life simple or light in ways that would leave me unprepared for growth. I am asking you for something deeper and steadier, the kind of strength that does not come from adrenaline or urgency, but from rootedness. I want the kind of strength that allows me to stand without becoming rigid, to endure without becoming cold, to carry weight without losing tenderness. Pressure sometimes makes me tighten internally. It makes my thoughts move faster. It makes my sleep shallower. It makes me anticipate problems before they even arrive. And if I am not careful, I begin to live slightly ahead of myself, already worrying about outcomes that have not yet unfolded, already bracing for conversations that have not yet happened, already trying to solve what has not yet become a real issue. That is not how I want to live. Your word says that you are my refuge and my strength, a very present help in trouble. That phrase, very present, means more to me than ever right now. I do not need abstract strength. I need present strength. Strength for the email I have to answer, strength for the decision I'm hesitating over, strength for the internal pressure I rarely speak about aloud, strength for the moments when I feel like too much depends on me. I confess that sometimes I equate strength with pushing harder. I equate resilience with refusing to slow down. I equate faith with pretending I am not affected. But when I look at the way Jesus moved, I see something different. I see someone who carried immense responsibility without being frantic. Someone who bore expectation without being hurried. Someone who faced pressure without losing composure. He withdrew when he needed to. He prayed before decisions. He slept in storms. That kind of strength does not come from self-reliance. It comes from deep alignment. So I am asking you to realign me. If pressure has pulled me out of rhythm, bring me back gently. If I have been carrying things that were never mine to hold, show me how to release them without guilt. If I have absorbed expectations that are not rooted in your voice, help me loosen my grip on them. I do not want to break, but I also do not want to survive by becoming emotionally distant. Sometimes when pressure builds, I notice a temptation to shut down slightly, to feel less so I can cope more easily. But I know that is not sustainable. I want to remain open-hearted and steady at the same time. That kind of balance feels impossible without you. Your word says that your grace is sufficient and that your strength is made perfect in weakness. That scripture used to make me uncomfortable because I did not like admitting weakness. Now it feels like permission. Permission to stop pretending I am endlessly capable. Permission to admit that I feel stretched. Permission to let you carry what I cannot organize perfectly. Strength in your kingdom does not always look like force. Sometimes it looks like quiet endurance. Sometimes it looks like saying no. Sometimes it looks like resting when everything in me wants to keep proving something. I am tired of proving. I want to trust. Lord, when pressure tries to define me by productivity, remind me that I am defined by belonging. When pressure tries to tell me that I am only as valuable as my output, remind me that my worth was settled long before today's demands arrived. When pressure tries to convince me that everything depends on me, remind me that you are sovereign and capable without my exhaustion. I am learning that pressure is not always a sign that I am failing. Sometimes it is simply evidence that I care. But caring without anchoring becomes draining, so anchor me. Anchor my thoughts so they do not spiral. Anchor my emotions so they do not swing wildly between confidence and doubt. Anchor my body so it can rest even when life is full. You said that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. That renewal is what I am asking for. Not a surge, not a burst, but renewal. Something that restores what has been quietly depleted. Something that fills the gaps where tension has worn thin. Something that steadies my breathing and slows my thoughts. If today brings more pressure, let it meet greater peace. If expectations rise, let my trust rise higher. If responsibilities feel heavy, let your presence feel heavier, not crushing but grounding. I am not asking you to remove growth. I am asking you to sustain me within it. I am not asking you to eliminate challenge. I am asking you to strengthen my interior so that challenge does not fracture me. And as I sit here longer, I can feel that what I truly need is not the absence of pressure, but the presence of something stronger than it, something deeper, something quieter, something that does not fluctuate with circumstance. That is what I am asking for. Strength that holds me together without hardening me, strength that steadies me without rushing me, strength that allows me to breathe when everything feels urgent. Lord, there are seasons when everything seems to demand attention at once. Work requires clarity. Relationships require patience. Finances require wisdom. My own internal world requires care. And when those layers overlap, I can feel myself drifting away from my center. I move faster, speak quicker, think louder, and somewhere in that momentum, I begin to disconnect from the quiet place where peace lives. That quiet place feels far when pressure rises, but I know it has not moved. I am the one who shifts. So I am asking you to teach me how to remain centered. Your word says that you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you. That verse does not promise the absence of responsibility. It promises stability of mind, and stability is what I need. Not numbness, not detachment, stability. I do not want pressure to dictate my personality. I do not want to become short-tempered because I feel stretched. I do not want to become distant because I feel overwhelmed. I do not want my inner tension to spill into my words or my tone. If I must carry much, let me carry it quietly and with grace. Sometimes I realize that what exhausts me most is not the task itself, but the story I attach to it. I tell myself that everything must be handled perfectly. I tell myself that mistakes will cost more than they probably will. I tell myself that slowing down is weakness. And those narratives add weight that was never assigned by you. So I ask you to untangle my thoughts gently. Remove exaggeration. Remove self-imposed pressure. Remove the belief that I must be everything to everyone at once. You never rush me. You never overwhelm me with all the details at once. You lead step by step. That is how you guided Israel in the wilderness, not with the entire map, but with daily direction. And somehow, even in that uncertain season, you provided daily bread. You did not give them a year's supply. You gave them enough for the day. That rhythm speaks to me now, enough for the day. I do not need to solve the entire future this morning. I need enough strength for today, enough clarity for the next conversation, enough patience for the next interaction, enough resilience for the next challenge. When I think in smaller portions, the weight feels more manageable. Lord, I notice that pressure often makes me tighten my grip. I hold on to control because it feels safer than surrender. But control is exhausting. It demands constant vigilance. It creates tension in my body. It makes me feel responsible for outcomes I cannot ultimately guarantee. So I open my hands again, not dramatically, just intentionally. I release the outcome of today's efforts. I release the need to foresee every obstacle. I release the demand that everything must go according to my preferred timeline. Your word reminds me that it is in quietness and confidence that my strength will be found. Quietness is not passivity, it is composure. Confidence is not arrogance, it is trust. So let quiet confidence settle over me. Let my breathing slow. Let my shoulders relax. Let my thoughts align with truth instead of urgency. If pressure increases later today, remind me of this moment. Remind me that I do not have to react immediately to every stressor. Remind me that I can pause before responding. Remind me that my stability does not depend on perfect performance. I am learning that endurance is less about pushing through and more about staying rooted. Trees that survive storms do not do so because they resist every gust. They survive because their roots go deep. So deepen my roots. Root me in truth. Root me in identity. Root me in the awareness that I am held. You know my limits better than I do. You formed my mind, my body, my capacity. You know what I can carry and what I cannot. If I am attempting to carry beyond what is healthy, Gently adjust me. If I need boundaries, teach me to set them without guilt. If I need rest, give me the courage to take it. Pressure does not have to equal panic. It can become refinement if I remain anchored. It can become growth if I remain connected to you. It can become strength if I do not try to handle it alone. And as I sit here, I realize that what I truly want is not to be unbreakable. I want to be sustained. There is a difference. Unbreakable sounds rigid. Sustained sounds supported. I do not want to harden myself against life. I want to lean into the one who upholds me. So uphold me today, not with force but with presence, not with spectacle but with steadiness. Let your strength flow into the spaces where I feel thin. Let your peace settle into the corners of my mind where tension has been hiding. If this season requires much of me, let it also draw me closer to you. Let pressure push me inward toward prayer instead of outward toward panic. Let it refine my dependence instead of increasing my self-reliance. And as I begin to accept that pressure will not disappear overnight, I also begin to see that the greater transformation is happening within. That I am learning how to live from a deeper source of strength than my own capacity. That realization shifts something quietly. It makes me less afraid of the days ahead, because the goal is not to remove every weight. The goal is to remain steady while carrying what is necessary, and that steadiness is something I cannot manufacture on my own. It must come from you. Lord, as I continue sitting with you, I begin to understand that pressure is often temporary, but the way it shapes me can last much longer. If I allow it to dominate my thinking, it leaves residue. If I let it dictate my responses, it quietly rewrites my character, and that is why I am asking for something deeper than relief. I am asking for peace that remains even when pressure does not immediately leave. Peace, not as the absence of demand, but as the presence of you. There are moments when I imagine that once certain responsibilities are resolved, once certain conversations are finished, once certain uncertainties are clarified, then I will finally feel calm. But I have lived long enough to know that life does not pause long. One pressure gives way to another, one season resolves, and a new one begins. So if my peace depends on the removal of every stressor, I may spend much of my life waiting for calm instead of living in it. Your word says that the peace you give is not like the peace the world gives. The world's peace is conditional. It depends on circumstances aligning, on news being favorable, on outcomes being predictable. But the peace you offer settles beneath circumstance. It is quieter. It is not easily shaken. It does not rise and fall with daily headlines or shifting expectations. That is the peace I need. I notice that when pressure builds, my body responds before my mind catches up. My breathing shortens, my muscles tighten, my sleep grows lighter. It is as if my entire being braces without my permission. And yet, you designed my body for rest as well as effort. You designed my spirit for trust as well as responsibility. So I ask you to restore balance. Let peace move through me in practical ways. Slow my breathing when anxiety tries to speed it up. Soften my thoughts when they become sharp and reactive. Help me recognize when I am carrying tension I do not need to hold. You once slept in a boat during a storm. I have always found that image remarkable. Not because the storm was insignificant, but because your rest was deeper than the waves. I want that kind of inner stillness, not denial of reality, but composure within it, not ignorance of challenge, but confidence in God. Sometimes I assume that peace will feel dramatic, like a sudden emotional lift, but more often it feels subtle. It feels like choosing not to replay the same worry for the 10th time. It feels like pausing before responding defensively. It feels like trusting that what I cannot fix today does not need to be mentally solved tonight. Your word speaks of a peace that surpasses understanding, That means it does not always make logical sense. It can exist even when circumstances suggest otherwise. It can remain even when outcomes are unclear. I am asking for that kind of peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you are present. If pressure tries to convince me that everything is urgent, let peace remind me that not everything is critical. If pressure tries to tell me that I am behind, let peace remind me that you are not rushed. If pressure tries to whisper that I am inadequate, let peace steady me in truth. I do not want to oscillate between intensity and exhaustion. I want consistency. I want to wake up grounded and go to sleep unburdened. That rhythm feels possible when my peace is anchored in you rather than in outcomes. Sometimes I think peace requires ideal conditions, but perhaps it requires surrendered control instead. Perhaps peace grows in the soil of trust. When I trust that you are governing what I cannot manage, my grip loosens. When my grip loosens, my body relaxes. When my body relaxes, my mind follows. Lord, help me. It requires humility, admitting that I cannot sustain myself alone. Your presence is the only place where pressure loses its power to define me. Not because the pressure vanishes, but because it no longer owns my interior world. I am learning that pressure is loud, but peace is steady. Pressure demands attention. Peace simply remains. Pressure tries to dictate pace. Peace allows me to move deliberately. So I choose peace today, not once, but repeatedly. Every time my thoughts begin to spiral, I will return here. Every time my shoulders tighten, I will remember that you are carrying more than I am. Let peace outlast the pressure. Let trust outlast the tension. Let your presence outlast the demands of this season. And as I begin to sense that this peace is not fragile, but durable, not emotional, but anchored, I realize that strength and peace are not separate gifts. They are intertwined. Strength without peace becomes strain. Peace without strength becomes avoidance. But together they form something steady. And that steadiness prepares my heart to walk through whatever this day holds. Not bracing, not retreating, but grounded. Lord, as this prayer settles into my spirit, I begin to think about the rest of this day, not as something to brace against, but as something to move through with steadiness. The responsibilities will still be there. The conversations will still need to happen. The deadlines will still exist. But I do not want pressure to own my internal atmosphere while I navigate them. I want to walk through the day anchored, not accelerated by anxiety. There is a difference between carrying responsibility and being possessed by it. I have lived both ways. I know what it feels like to wake up already tense, already calculating, already anticipating what might go wrong. I also know the rare but beautiful feeling of waking up aware that you are near, that I am supported, that nothing about this day will surprise you. I want to live from that awareness more consistently. Pressure often tries to convince me that everything depends on how well I perform. It whispers that one mistake will undo everything. It exaggerates the stakes. But you are not fragile, and your purposes are not easily disrupted. I am not the sole architect of my life's outcomes. I am a participant, yes, but not the ultimate controller. Remembering that loosens something in me. Your word says that the steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord. That does not mean there will be no obstacles, but it does mean I am not wandering aimlessly. Even when I feel stretched, I am still guided. Even when I feel uncertain, I am still held within your awareness. That truth allows me to approach today without panic. I do not want to rush through the hours just to survive them. I want to be present. I want to notice when I'm beginning to tighten internally and gently return to peace. I want to recognize when pressure is distorting my perspective and recalibrate before it shapes my tone or my decisions. Let me be attentive to my own interior world, not in self-absorption, but in stewardship. If I encounter conflict, let me respond thoughtfully instead of defensively. If I encounter delay, let me remain patient instead of agitated. If I encounter unexpected change, let me adapt instead of unravel. None of those responses come automatically. They come from being rooted before the moment arrives. Pressure loses power when I refuse to internalize it as identity. I am not defined by how much I accomplish today. I am not measured by how flawlessly I execute every task. I am not reduced to my output. I belong to you first. That belonging steadies everything else. There will be moments when the pace quickens, emails will accumulate, conversations will require emotional presence, decisions will demand clarity. In those moments, remind me to breathe. Remind me that I can pause even if the world does not. Remind me that urgency does not have to invade my spirit. Your word tells me to be anxious for nothing, but in everything, through prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, to present my requests to you. That instruction is not unrealistic. It is relational. It means I do not carry tension alone. When I feel the first signs of overwhelm, I can return to you in quiet conversation. I can release the immediate concern before it multiplies internally. I want to move through this day deliberately, not reactively. Deliberate does not mean slow, it means aware. It means choosing responses rather than being driven by pressure. It means recognizing that I have space between stimulus and reaction. In that space, you dwell. If I feel myself slipping into self-criticism, redirect me gently. If I begin to compare my progress to someone else's, recalibrate my perspective. If I begin to absorb someone else's stress as my own, remind me that empathy does not require internal collapse. Walking through the day without letting pressure own me does not mean I ignore reality. It means I refuse to let reality dictate my interior stability. Circumstances can be demanding without becoming dominating. I can engage fully without surrendering peace. You never promised that life would be light, but you did promise that your yoke is easy and your burden is light. I am still learning what that means. Perhaps it means that when I carry what you assign, it fits differently. It may still require effort, but it does not crush. It may still demand focus, but it does not suffocate. If I am tempted to overextend, teach me restraint. If I am tempted to overcommit, give me wisdom. If I am tempted to prove something, remind me that my identity is already secure. As the day unfolds, let me check in with myself honestly. Am I tense? Am I rushing unnecessarily? Am I assuming worst-case outcomes? And when I notice those patterns, let me return here, not physically perhaps, but internally, to the quiet awareness that I am supported. Pressure can push, but it does not have to possess. It can challenge, but it does not have to control. It can stretch, but it does not have to snap me. Strength and peace together create resilience. Resilience is not loud. It is steady. It is the ability to bend without breaking. It is the capacity to carry weight while remaining connected to Source. So as I step forward now, I do so without bracing. I do so without tightening in anticipation. I do so with the understanding that whatever this day contains, it does not contain anything that escapes your knowledge or your care. I will work, but I will not worship productivity. I will care, but I will not carry what is not mine. I will engage, but I will not internalize every pressure. And when the day is finished, I want to look back not with exhaustion alone, but with the quiet satisfaction of having remained centered. That is the strength I am asking for. Not dramatic endurance, not unbreakable force, but sustainable steadiness. And I trust that as I walk through this day, you walk with me, not ahead of me leaving me to catch up, not behind me watching from a distance, but beside me, steady and present. Lord, as this prayer comes to a gentle close, I do not want to leave abruptly. I want to linger here for a moment longer. I want the quiet that has settled over me to sink deeper than words. There is something sacred about slowing down before stepping back into the noise of the day. It reminds me that I am not powered only by effort, but sustained by presence. I notice that my breathing feels different now, not forced, not hurried, just steady. And that steadiness feels like a gift. Nothing externally has changed yet, but internally something has softened. The pressure that once felt sharp now feels manageable, not because it disappeared, but because it is no longer sitting alone on my shoulders. You are here. That awareness is enough. Your word says that you give strength to the weary and increase the power of the weak. I do not need to dramatize my fatigue for you to understand it. You already know where I have been stretched. You already know where my confidence has thinned. You already know the conversations that replay in my mind and the expectations I carry quietly. And still, you remain patient with me. I release the need to be impressive. I release the need to be invulnerable. I release the need to carry what was never assigned to me. If there are unresolved matters waiting for me today, I trust that you will provide clarity when I need it. If there are conversations that feel heavy, I trust that you will provide the right tone and timing. If there are responsibilities that stretch me, I trust that you will provide proportionate strength. I do not need tomorrow's energy tonight. I do not need next month's answers this morning. I do not need to forecast every possible complication. I only need enough grace for the next faithful step. That realization quiets something inside me. Sometimes I have mistaken intensity for commitment. I have believed that if I am not thinking constantly about what needs to be done, I am somehow neglecting it. But that is not how you designed the human heart. You designed it to work and to rest, to carry and to release, to engage and to trust. So I choose trust. Not passive resignation, but quiet confidence. I trust that you are weaving things together even when I cannot see the pattern. I trust that what feels pressing right now will not define the whole story. I trust that this season of stretching is not meant to fracture me, but to deepen me. If I feel the pressure return later today, remind me gently of this moment. Remind me that I have already surrendered it once. Remind me that I can surrender it again. Remind me that strength is not a one-time deposit, but a continual supply. Your word says that those who dwell in the secret place of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Resting in your shadow does not mean hiding from life. It means living covered by wisdom, covered by grace, covered by perspective. Let that covering remain over me. As I move forward, let my steps be deliberate but not driven. Let my thoughts be engaged but not frantic. Let my heart remain open but not overwhelmed. I am learning that being strong does not mean being untouched by pressure. It means being anchored beneath it, and anchoring requires humility. It requires acknowledging that I need you more than I often admit. So I admit it now. I need you in my decision-making. I need you in my pacing. I need you in my reactions. I need you in my silence. And I am grateful that you are not reluctant to provide what I ask for in sincerity. Thank you for meeting me here. Thank you for the strength that feels less like force and more like support. Thank you for the peace that did not arrive dramatically but settled quietly. I step into the rest of this day without clenching. I step into the rest of this day without rehearsing worst-case outcomes. I step into the rest of this day aware that whatever unfolds, I do not face it alone. And when this day is finished, when the responsibilities are laid down and the noise fades again, I trust that I can return to this same place of stillness, not because I created it, but because it has always been here, in you. So I rest, not asleep, not disengaged, but inwardly at rest, in your presence, in your sufficiency, in your steady love. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.